Hey everyone, it's Sarah and I'm back to film my reading journal overview for 2025, just showing you how I have everything set up and how I intend to use my reading journal for this year. So for this year, I am again using a Happy Planner monthly layout 12-month planner. And I'll go through, what all the pages look like as we dive in. So first thing that we have is a perpetual calendar. This could be used in a variety of different ways. How I used it last year and how I plan to use it again this year is tracking the time that I read each day. For me, I think that it's hard to track pages read, especially if I'm reading audiobooks or switching between devices. Sometimes I'll read a physical book and an audiobook at the same time. Sometimes I'll read a book on my Kindle and then switch to a physical book. And so for me, and then also too, just tracking the pages in general is just not something I find appealing, I guess. Having to remember what page I started on and what page I finished on and, calculate that for every single day. Just not quite my thing, and I don't think I could stick to that. Whereas tracking the time that I am reading a book is easier for me. And this is not a cut and dry, I probably don't get it right all the time, but if I only read before bed, then I'll know I probably only read, under an hour, maybe 1 to 2 hours, depending on what time I started reading. And so for me, I can just estimate based on the days. If I had a day that I was really just into books, or maybe we took a really long car ride where we were listening to a lot of books, then it's, easy to grab the 4 to 6 or 6+ hour. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's just a general idea about how much I'm reading each day. And then, just looking at it as an overview, it's nice just because then, again, I can see, I must have been reading something really good, or I must have had a lot of free time because I read a lot these couple of days, whereas the other days I didn't read as much, or here's a section of time where I didn't read at all. Maybe we were on vacation or other things were going on and I just didn't have the time for it. I also pulled the same colors as I used last year, which will help me just because I'm already familiar with the colors, and that makes it easier to track everything. So that's my goals for those pages. Then turning to what they normally call like a currently page. This one I use as my overview for the month. I post pictures or print pictures to put down here of book covers, so then I can just at a glance look at all the books that I read in the month. I'll put down my favorite book and then the number of books I read and the number of pages I read. I still haven't figured out a use for this third spot, and that's fine. These pages aren't quite my favorite. I liked the ones that they had in the older planners from 2+ years ago, but this is the new layout that they have. So I've made it work for me, but like I said, not quite my favorite. I liked, previous editions more, but I found a way to make it work for me as best I can. Then moving into the monthly pages, like I said, this is the monthly layout for the Happy Planner. So each month you're gonna have the monthly pages. I usually use these to track when I started and when I finished a book. So I'll put, indicators for when I started, when I finished, and then, as the month fills out, you can kind of see, oh, I did most of my readings, or, at least starting and finishing a book on the weekends, or, I started a lot of books on Wednesdays, or things like that. It's just, again, another visual overview of when I'm reading things and, finishing them. And even too, kind of like how long it takes me to read them, because maybe I started it on the 7th, but I didn't finish it till the 22nd. So maybe it was, you know, not my favorite book if I was reading other books in that time frame, or if I didn't read anything else in that time frame, maybe I was busy, or it was a long book. I don't know, just an indicator of how much I'm reading. So next in the monthly layout, you have these like monthly goal pages followed by some note pages. I always use these trackers. These are my favorite part, probably my favorite part of this kind of layout, because you have these pre-printed habit trackers, and I like using it for the 3 what type of book I'm reading. If I'm reading a Kindle book, a physical book, or an audiobook, because I might be reading them in tandem. I might be reading an audiobook at the same time I'm reading a different physical book, and so it just kind of shows me when I was reading things, or, you know, when I was reading things and what I was reading, you know, type. So I always enjoy that. This section I'm not sure what I'm using for yet. Previously in the Happy Planner, this was just a pre-printed quote. So I don't know if I'll just put decoration up here. I don't know if I'll try to pull a quote from something I'm reading in the month to put there. I'm not always good about recording quotes, especially if it was an audiobook or, you know, even like a physical book. Kindle books are easier because they have the annotation feature, you know, so then you can go back and see what things resonated with you. But I'm not always reading Kindle books every month, or, you know, sometimes I'll go back and forth between different types of books for the same title. But I don't know, still not sure what I'm going to use that for. That was a change this year. This monthly goals section, I've used it for different things in the past. This year, I think I was going to try to put new releases there. Just things that are maybe on my radar. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm reading them this month, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm buying all of these books, but just kind of keeping things on my radar for when books that I enjoy are coming out, just because that I can, you know, borrow them from the library, keep an eye out for them. If I get stuck on what I want to read next, I could always go to those. I just thought that that would be an interesting way to use it, and we'll see if I continue it for the whole year or not. Then I have this check it off section that I generally use for a running list of what I'm reading. So when I start a book, I'll put it in here, and then when I finished reading it, I'll check it off. And that works pretty well for me. In the past, I've tried to use it as a TBR list, but then there's a lot of times where I don't even make it to the books on the list, or I'm too ambitious and I don't end up reading anything like that. You know, I'm reading other things, and so I didn't find the list helpful after a while to do it that way. Generally, if there's a book I really want to focus on, I'll put it in my top priorities for the month as, you know, no, you really need to read this, or this should be your top TBR for this month. And then this note to self section oftentimes just becomes a continuation of the list if I'm reading a lot in the month, or I'll just put, you know, a sticker, some deco down here just to make it pretty, but oftentimes I don't actually use it for anything else. As I kind of mentioned, my top priorities go here. So if I want to read every day in the month, if there's a certain book I want to read in the month, if I have maybe a book of the month that I didn't read, or I have a couple of books of the month that I haven't read, I'll say, you know, read 2 book of the months, or read 3 library books, things that I just want to focus on for the month. Go there. And then up in this section, I make myself a bingo every month. 2 years ago, I was buying the bingo prompts that were laid out in a very similar way from the Shelfie Chronicles. And I didn't buy it last year because she had released the stickers late, and we had just moved into a new home and, you know, just was trying to save some money. So I ended up drawing them in myself, and that's what I decided to do again this year. I use my own prompts. I don't copy hers because I feel like then I should be buying her stickers if I'm using her prompts. But this year I tried to focus more so on pulling reading challenges or prompts from reading challenges into this section, so then I can, kind of double-edged sword do, some here that also fit in back there. Then there's a couple that I just did for fun. So continue a series, that was just something I put on my list because there's a number of series that I need to finish or that I want to finish. I'm thinking of Outlander, I'm thinking of Fourth Wing, I'm thinking of the Star, what's that, Starsight? Brandon Sanderson series. So there's a number of books that I want to finish the series for or continue on that I maybe stalled in last year or the year before. But then there's other ones like Truth and Lies, which that's the buzzword January prompt. So that is just kind of a fun challenge for myself. And then this section here, again, usually doesn't get used, usually just gets filled in with deco, unless I have, something that comes up that I want to write there. And then I have these note pages for each month. Last year I didn't use them at all, I don't think, but 2 years ago I was using them to brainstorm for different prompts for challenges that I wanted to complete. So I pulled the bingo prompts in, to kind of jot things down, especially I want to try to focus on my TBR a lot in 2025. I feel like sometimes I get distracted, and when I want something new to read, I don't go back to my TBR. I just scroll through my library app and find new things, or I go to BookTube or, Book Talk and find books that weren't even on my radar that were great. And that's not a bad way to find books, but there's so many books on my TBR that I've just never even gotten close to reading, I guess. And so I want to try to knock some of those books out this year. So for the 31st book of my TBR, because that's one of the things that I had grabbed, I had The Unexpected Duchess, which was 31 from the bottom of the list, and then I had Hotel of Secrets, which was 31 from the top of the list. So I thought I could do either one of those. Then I have for the buzzword reading challenge and then the buzzword cover challenge, I like Truth and Lies was the prompt. So then I just searched my Goodreads TBR for those keywords and pulled the books that came up. So hopefully I can use one of those that's already on my TBR for the challenge. Same with Pattern on a Cover. I just scrolled through and looked at the, Goodreads, my Goodreads TBR list and tried to pull ones that had a pattern as potential books that I could read for there. So that's how I hope to use some of these note pages, is to kind of brainstorm, take notes. We'll see if I make it all the way through, the year using these pages, but I at least wanted to make an effort because last year, like I said, I just never ended up using them. And then the months repeat all the way through in that same format. I did already, well, February is not good because I already filled out the bingo prompts, but like March, I just have the blank bingo prompts or the blank bingo board. And so I'll add the prompts in later as we get closer to that month. February I filled in because January, February is going to be a busy time for me since I am due to have our baby in February. So then moving into my challenges pages, some of my trackers for the entire year, they all end up back here after all the months are done. These are just extra tabs that I've pulled from other happy planners because I have a lot of notebooks and things of that nature. I think this one came from an undated planner. So the Goodreads tracker, this one is from the Shelfie Chronicles. I really enjoy this one. I will put in an icon for a book, an audiobook, or a Kindle book, and I put them in rainbow order, so it looks very aesthetically pleasing by the time the year is done. But I like doing it this way just because, you know, at a glance, I can see how many books I've read for the year, and then what kind of books I'm focused on. And if I do a tandem read, like let's say I start a book on a Kindle and I finish it as a physical book or an audiobook, whatever I spent the most time reading that book as is usually what symbol I'll choose. I don't usually put multiple symbols down, but there are some books that I'll cheat and you know, use a couple of different types of media to finish it. So my reading goal for the year is going to be, I think probably 100 is what I'll set it at again. I didn't quite make it in 2024, but it was busy. 2025 is going to be busy too, so I might not make it again, but I think I'll just set it at an even 100 and we'll see where I end up. So this should give me plenty of squares to do 100. I could always purchase more of these little squares if I needed to. Again, they're from the Shelfie Chronicles. Then I have this printable from Plan with Elise. This one is a monthly review, so I'll write down how many books I read and how many pages. So then at the end of the year or each month I can say, you know, well, June wasn't my best reading month compared to February, but, you know, I still read a lot of pages even though I read less books, or, you know, things like that. Then I have, these are stickers from JoJo's Pretty Paper Shop. This has a color guide by month. So I've seen a lot of these reading trackers where you'll color in books as you read them. And I thought this was kind of a fun take on it to, you know, set a color for each month so you can see, oh, I read a lot in January because I have a lot of blue, but then in March I read less because it was green or something like that. You know, just visually you can see that. So that's what I'll do there. I don't know how I'll color them in yet, if it'll be colored pencils or I use a lot of mild liners, so I'm not sure what colors I'll choose, but I don't need to figure that out right now. Then I have these other printables from Plan with Elise. This is reading 50 books and reading 100. I've not used them in the other two planners that I've used, or reading journals that I've used in the past. So I keep moving them to my newest one. This year I really hope to actually use them, but I did think about, you know, just kind of coloring these in as I read books. Again, just to visually have when I started and finished books, especially since I have them printed already. Then this is where I track my individual books and my reviews. So these are, again, printables from Plan with Elise. This is the older version that has the thicker lines. I was looking at her website on Etsy, and she has a newer version with thinner lines. So that would be, you know, if you were currently buying it, that would be the style you would get. But I like these because I can put the book cover here. I'll usually number, you know, 1, 2, 3, so then I know what book it falls under for in comparison to the year. I'll put the title here, dates read, star rating, then I put the genre and how many pages, and if it was an audiobook, I'll also put how many hours the audiobook was, so 8 hours and 2 minutes or something like that. And then down here, the first year I did it, I tracked a memorable quote from books, but I find quotes hard to pull out sometimes because sometimes there's not a memorable quote. And then also too, sometimes, like if I'm reading an audiobook or something to that effect, I can't, you know, if I'm driving, because that's a lot of times when I listen to audiobooks, I don't have pen and paper to just write it down really quick, or I have to listen to it a bunch of times to get it right. And so tracking a quote didn't work for me as well. Last year I just pulled out like some key points from the book. So maybe main character names, or, you know, if it's a mystery, kind of like what the main mystery is, or, you know, I didn't enjoy the writing, you know, just kind of a couple of kind of review bullet points or synopsis bullet points to kind of jog my memory on what the book was about, or, you know, what I thought of reading it. And I think that that works pretty well for me. So I have enough printed here, I think, to do 100, and then I still have some extra pages that I didn't use in last year's reading planner or the reading journal, so then I'll throw those in here as well, and I'll have, you know, more than enough. So then the last tab in my reading journal is all of my monthly reading challenges. So this is a monthly reading challenge. I completed this last year from Peanut Butter Taco, and I had an extra set of stickers because I think I had gotten them in a grab bag. I had just cut off the icons that went with them because this year I was going for a more neutral aesthetic versus a colorful aesthetic. And so, you know, just to make it fit with the style of this planner, I guess. But each month there's a different prompt, and I like these because I think that monthly challenges are really easy for me to complete, and generally I will get them done. You know, if I have one prompt I'm focusing on for a month. Some of the larger reading challenges like Pop Sugar or, you know, Read Your Shelf, I don't always get those done because generally there's, you know, 52 prompts, and some of them can be kind of wild or unique or hard, and so I don't always complete those, but something that's just you know, one prompt a month, I find those easier to complete. So I grabbed a couple of different ones this year. So like I said, this one was from Peanut Butter Taco. Then I have the 2025 Buzzword Challenge. It's a little hard to see because it's foiled, but again, this one, there's words in the title that you're trying to complete. So some of them are very specific, truth and lies. So one of those words needs to come up, but then you have some months that are more general, like water words. You could use lake, river, wet, you know, flow, things like that. And I enjoyed doing this 2 years ago, didn't do it last year, but excited to do it again this year. And this year I put less pressure on myself to buy stickers, because that's what I've done pretty much every year is, or, you know, the last 2 years is I've bought stickers to go with the prompts, and it can get kind of expensive. Not that I don't enjoy supporting the small shops that do them, but it can get kind of expensive, and some of them aren't released until, you know, the end of, you know, December is when a lot of these reading challenges come out with their prompts. So then it takes them time to make the stickers to then have me order them, you know, get them shipped out to me, and then get them put in my planner. So this year I literally drew boxes, I just measured things and wrote in for a lot of these challenges, which was time consuming, but not impossible, and actually worked out pretty well. So then similarly, the Buzzword Reading Challenge has kind of a second challenge this year. It's a Buzzword Cover Challenge. So instead of looking for words on the cover, you're looking for an item or a picture or a pattern. So I've got pattern, skyline, books, eyes, a monochromatic cover. So again, just one per month, which should be pretty, hopefully, easy to complete. Then I have the Nerdy Gal Studio Challenge. Again, this one's a monthly one, so there's just one prompt per month, and easy to complete, hopefully. Then I have my 2025 Pop Sugar Challenge. This one I formatted a little bit differently. I did more of a, I don't even know what you call this, like a chart kind of format. So I have the prompt on the left, and then I'll fill in the books on the right as I complete them. And again, this one has some that are going to be harder, like a book about a cult. I don't know if I read any books about cults last year, so some of these might take a little bit more you know, finessing, I guess. But I also probably don't intend to finish all 50 prompts or whatever are in this one. Then we have the Wizarding Professions Challenge. This one is from Harry Potter and the Order of the Planners Facebook group on Facebook. Goodness. But this is a planner Harry Potter group that I've been doing their challenges for a while. Again, they have stickers. You can get them from, I think this one you can get from the Sticker Party. She does a lot of reading challenge stickers, but I decided to go the cheap route and make my own. So there's different wizarding professions that you know, kind of make up each section, and then there's prompts based on things related to that profession. One thing that was different about this one, if you had done the challenge last year, which was the Newt challenge, if you got an O for outstanding in your OW or in your Newts, then you can skip like some of these bolded prompts. So I tried to do my best in using a thicker pen for those. I only got a couple of O's last year, so I'm not sure that I'll be able to skip any of those prompts, or I think it was more so that you could just do a free read, you know. So probably won't be skipping many of the prompts, but I just, again, think it's fun. I like, you know, kind of the crossover between different challenges and different, I don't know, interests in my life. So that is that one. Then I have a Taylor Swift From the Vault challenge. Similarly, it was a Facebook page or a Facebook group that set this challenge up on Facebook. I can't remember what the group was called, but the person that runs the Harry Potter and the Order of the Planners Facebook page, she also runs whatever this Taylor Swift reading challenge page is. So this one, we have the different Taylor's version albums that have been released so far, and then challenges to fit each song that was on the From the Vault, you know, kind of bonus extra songs. And then she did say something about if Reputation and Debut get released, she'll add new prompts. So I'll probably add in another page if and when that happens in 2025. Then I have an alphabet challenge. I believe this one was, yes, from Peanut Butter Taco. So I just had these little book stickers and then I drew the boxes in to go with them. Last year I did really well on my alphabet challenge without even really trying too hard. I got everything except for Q, so we'll see what I do this year. Then I have a rainbow reading challenge. This one is from the Prairie Planner, which is a Canadian-based shop. And I liked this one because a lot of the rainbow reading challenges that I've seen just go for the basic Roy G. Biv type colors. I like that she includes some other colors like wine or teal, lilac. So, you know, there's some different shade variations in there as well. Then getting into my own challenge for myself, I, as I've mentioned, don't always focus on my TBR. And there's a lot of books that I've been neglecting on my TBR, or books that I've been wanting to read, but I just keep putting off. And so I made myself a list of 25 books in 25 that I'm going to read, hopefully. So I made a list of 25 books, and I tried to pull some that I have had that I've been wanting to read. So Drums of Autumn, if you were with me last year during my reading planner, I've been reading the Outlander books periodically. And Drums of Autumn is my next one that I need to read. I started it in April, didn't get very far, got distracted by other books, kept it on my, you know, currently reading for most of the year, even though I hadn't been picking it up. Probably would have to restart the 100 pages I had read in it. And so I ended up just kind of, I don't DNF books generally, ever. And so for now, it just is kind of on my, I need to read it later shelf. And so that's like my top book that I need to read this year. But then I also have some other books like, I don't know, The Wishing Game, A Discovery of Witches. I've had that on my shelf for like 3 years. I need to just read it. And a lot of these books are good books. It's just maybe they're not the most recent release, so you don't hear people talking about them as much because they talked about it 3 years ago or, you know, longer ago. And so I think that's part of the reason why I get distracted with the newest, shiniest new releases. And so I tried to go through my TBR. I picked some that were very old. So I have like the Meryl Streep Movie Club, Absent in the Spring, Underground. Those are all ones that have been on my TBR list basically since I've joined Goodreads, more or less. So those, you know, I tried to grab some that were really old. I tried to grab some that were on my more recent radar, and then some in between. So hopefully I will make good progress on this list, if not complete this list. And then I'll probably either check them off or maybe I'll highlight when I finish each book. Then I have my book bingo. This is from Plan with Elise again. And this is just a printable that then I filled out with prompts that I wanted to use. I recycled a lot of prompts from my book bingo that I wrote last year because I had a good time with it. And then I tried to add in some other ones. So, you know, 2024 Goodreads award winner, been on your shelf forever. A book club pick. So my local bookstore does book club, library does book club. So trying to, you know, maybe attend or at least read one of the book club picks this year, even if I don't go to the actual book club. Yeah, been on your TBR for 3+ years. So not necessarily a book that I own, but one that I've been wanting to read. Finishing a reading challenge. So yeah, just kind of a variety of things. Again, if I don't finish all of them, that's fine, but these are just kind of goals that I set for myself for bingo. So that is everything that I have for this year's reading journal setup. Like I said, a lot of these things have worked well for me in the years past. There's a couple of things I've changed this year, but for the most part, you know, this is kind of my tried and true. So I hope you enjoyed watching. Maybe you got some ideas from this, and I hope you have a good 2025 reading year. I'll talk to you later. Bye.